Hi, good evening, and welcome to my Google Ed Hangout on Air using Google Calendar and communities to foster collaborative relationships. I'm Rachel Kelsch, and I'm a social studies teacher at Hampton Bays High School. I'm also a Google certified educator and administrator, and I'm currently getting my master's in educational technology from Stony Brook University. Today, I have some colleagues joining me, so if you guys would like to introduce yourselves, whoever would like to go first.
I'll go first, I guess. I'm Kelly Barrett. I am a math teacher at Hampton Bays High School, and I'm also looking to get more involved into integrating technology into my workplace. So I'm excited to be a part of this, I guess, hangout.
Woo! Thanks, Kelly.
Okay, my name is Michelle Edwards, and I am a Spanish teacher at Hampton Bays High School, and I am working on my certificate in technology as well.
Thank you, Michelle.
Great. My name is Stephen Quinn. I'm a social studies educator. Currently subbing right now, but I just finished up my master's in education technology in Stony Brook University, and I'm currently part of Rachel's class as well in the Google certified training system.
Thank you, Stephen. So we all have a very similar background. I was just wondering before we started, what problems have you seen with collaboration in schools that you've been noticing?
Well, as a sub, at least from my perspective from going through several districts, a big issue is trying to transition them into using Google products online or even any type of online collaboration tools. Many students aren't aware of it, and working even with seniors in several leave replacements I've had, when you try to get them to do these activities or any type of activities online using these tools, they're unaware of them, frankly.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that, Stephen. I think the starting point is really showing the teachers how to use these products and having them use them first, and then them being able to teach the students how to take advantage of these great products. What do you think? What type of role do you think professional collaboration has in the workplace for us? Do you value it? Do you think it's undervalued right now?
Kind of see it a little bit undervalued. One of the districts I'm in actually just recently went over to Google, and well, the tools are there. These wonderful options are right there for the educators to use and even for students to use. They've opened it up to them. But there really hasn't been any development and training for them to implement it. So they're just essentially just sitting around and not being utilized to the fullest extent.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Stephen, and hopefully when we're discussing my presentation today, hopefully we'll be able to learn a little bit from each other and start a little bit more of a discussion. I know at our school at Hampton Bays, we would definitely love to start this discussion, and then you as well in your district, Stephen. So I'm going to start to go through my presentation, and then if you have any questions, you can stop me, and hopefully we'll have a discussion afterwards. So right now I'll share my screen to show you this presentation. There we go, desktop. Start screen share. Okay, so you can see all that crazy stuff there. So with the main purpose of this Google Hangout was to discuss how to use Google Calendar and communities to foster collaborative relationships. So with Google Calendar, there's a lot of different applications that you can use it for, but I don't think a lot of people, when they hear Google Calendar, think of it as a collaborative resource. Google Calendar can be used to foster collaborative planning between teachers of the same discipline, as well as teachers within the same school to create interdisciplinary units. So this can all be done in hopes of maintaining similar pacing and allowing teachers to discover points at which interdisciplinary units could be created. In order to do this, teachers use Google Drive, so they can create lessons in Google Documents and Google Slides, and they can upload this to their Google Calendar if they enable Google Labs, and share this with their colleagues. And again, all this is on the cloud system, and it's all a free service, so everyone is able to have access to it. In regards to Google Plus communities can be created for different disciplines. So, Michelle, you can have one for the Spanish department. Kelly, you can have one for the math department. And then Stephen and I would have one for the social studies department. And this can be used as a forum to discuss lessons, interests, best practices. Okay? So these can all be used within your building, district-wide, and through multiple districts. So within the building, different teachers could create a calendar that they share together. For example, the person that I teach American history with, we upload all our lessons to Google Calendar so that we can comment on each other's work, upload, and share all of our lessons. And then in regards to Google Plus communities, they can be created within the building to discuss building issues, share resources, and explore best practices. So within a Google Plus community, you can have a social studies group, but then we can also have an educational technology group between the people that have a similar interest. Or Kelly, I know you're working a lot with algebra and the Common Core. You can have a group just for that as well.
That's what I actually wanted to ask you. I work with a teacher who she teaches like the ESL component of that. So basically what you're saying is we could basically share our lessons, so she could be seeing exactly what I'm doing every single day to keep on pace with what I'm doing too, right? That's what you're talking about?
Exactly, Kelly. And actually, let me stop right now and I'll show you an example of what my colleague Kate and I, who you guys know, and Stephen, you're not familiar with her, but my co-teacher, basically, we teach the same type of stuff. So what we do is we upload our lessons to the Google Calendar. So this red calendar that you see on my screen, is everyone seeing this?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As it just went away?
Yeah.
Where'd it go? Oh,
You got it right now.
July. It went to July, that's why. So if I click on foreign policy, I can click on the event. So you would just add it as if you would create any type of events that you would put on your calendar. But if you look at the one for Kate and myself, when we did foreign policy, instead of writing down an event detail, I write down my lesson plan. So kind of like a bare bones lesson plan. So I put down my foreign policy review is the title of my lesson. I do now, foreign policy, chronological order. I go over what I'm doing in class. I have my exit slip, and everything is attached right here. If you enable Google Labs, you can attach all of this right to your Google Calendar. And you could see here we have our reflections on the lesson. So RK are my initials, so I talk about what worked well for a lesson. So I said, the lesson worked really well, but next year we have to take 2 events off the do now because we don't have enough time for the 3rd event on our graphic organizer. And then my colleague Kate said basically the same thing, that she didn't finish the 3rd event on the graphic organizer, so we need to figure out how to utilize the time better to get things planned. So when Kate and I go to do curriculum writing later on this month, we can go through all this and discuss what works best for us and what didn't. And again, it's all online right here, so we can click on foreign policy, upload it, and make the edits right there to it. Kelly, was that kind of answering your question? Did that give you a better visualization of it?
Absolutely, and it actually just got me thinking of like a million ways, because when you do a lesson, you forget something by the end of the day, or if you want to meet with that colleague, you don't always have the time in the day, but this is like a quick, easy way to share each other's feedback, but like the most simple and efficient way possible. It's awesome.
Definitely, and I think also it would be a great idea, because I know our administration is very involved in what we do, and we're very collaborative within our own school, even to share it with an administrator and say, okay, this is what we did. Could you leave me a comment about your feedback, about what we should do, what you think might have worked well? Because not all the time can they get into your classroom and see what you're doing, but they can kind of look and peek in and see what you're doing that day and give you some feedback on it.
Definitely.
So I definitely think that would be good. And Stephen, I'm even thinking about it. So you teach your social studies as well, and you're in a different school district. So I could even share my calendar with you, and you can say, oh, do you know what? I use this with my kids, and this is something that worked really well. Maybe you should try to include this next year. So I think that would definitely be a good thing to include. So again, we just talked about how to use it building-wide. District-wide, you can also use calendar to keep track of pacing within grades and to see where students are at certain points of the year. I know with Common Core, it's been changing the curriculum a lot, so it would be really nice if you can look at the middle school math or the middle school Spanish teachers' curriculum and what they are up to at a certain point, so you know how to change or reflect upon your practices. Also, a Google Plus community could be created for that purpose as well, to discuss student progress, best practices, and actually how to work with the population of students within your school. I know with our school, we have a lot of ESL students, so we're always trying to share resources. So resources like that aren't always going to be shared within departments. They'd be very beneficial to be shared with everyone within the school community. And then it brings me to multiple districts. So kind of like what I was talking about before with the calendar with Stephen, I could share my calendar with social studies teachers in other districts so that we can collaborate, again, on lessons, best practices, and see what works best. The Google Plus community could also be used to discuss the changes in curriculum, what lessons are working best again. Basically, the calendar gives you a bare bones approach to this, and then communities is able to delve a little bit further in order to get more discussion going on these issues. So I'm going to click the calendar link, which I actually already showed you. Did anyone have any questions about how to utilize that calendar? I think we kind of covered that, right? I want to draw your attention to Google Plus communities. So when you come to your Google Plus page, you can see us all together right now. In the left-hand side, you're going to see this little tab bar, and it's going to say communities. So if you wanted to create a community within your school district, for example, we have HB American History for Kate and myself, we could create a community. We would do private, okay, and we could create one right now for HB Educational Technology. So you would just create it like that. Okay, we'd probably want to hide it from searches to keep it a private community, but you would just create community as it's loading. Okay, and then you could invite members. So what I could do is I could invite Michelle, I could invite Kelly, and then we'd be able to have a dialogue on this community page. Michelle, I'm going to invite both of your things. On this community page, because sometimes it's really difficult. I know, Kelly, you're in the front hallway, we're in the back hallway, so sometimes it's difficult to actually see people, or sometimes when you have a resource, you forget about it later because we have so much other stuff going on. But when you're in these communities, it gives you a really great forum to share things with. If you take a look at a Google community that Stephen and I are both in, people just sharing resources on here. So this is stuff that you might not be able to talk about during the school day, but you'd be able to share with each other and then look at it at your convenience. So I think both of these things really showcase the best collaborative practices. Let me go back to my regular face. Okay, can you see it? My regular face as opposed to my calendar. But yeah, so I think those two tools, if we really utilize them within Hampton Bays, we'd have a lot more discussion about best practices, what lessons work, and just an overall happier teacher population, because so much of our stuff is new and changing and evolving that a tool like this could really be beneficial for people. I know we talked about some problems before with collaboration. Do you think Google Calendar or Google Communities could address any of these concerns?
Absolutely, but we need to be able to, you know, have that time to teach other teachers how to use these forums so that we could utilize them to the best that we possibly can.
What do you think is the best way to do that? Do you think that would be like we have Superintendent's Conference Day before school? Do you think it would be really easy to have everyone set up a Google Plus account and to create these communities and learn how to do it then? Or do you think it's something that people should really work on before they get to work and start now at the end of the year when we have maybe a little bit more downtime after exams are graded?
That's what I was thinking, but then at the same time I was wondering like how many people would maybe use that over the summer, or like then come back in September and be kind of need like a refresher on it. So I think maybe like on that first PD day, if we even took like an hour and just did something with it and showed people what the capabilities were, and then said, you know what, we'll be in our rooms and, you know, stop by if you want to learn something about it. I think that might be the best approach, but I mean, anything would be awesome because this is so incredibly helpful.
Yeah. No, and I think what you really said was important, Kelly, because I think what you said really reflects the new type of professional development that people are engaging in, because now I feel like people, because of time and everything that's going on, are having more difficulty finding the time for professional development. So something like this, like what we're even engaging in right now, this Google Hangout, is more flexible to their schedule. So if we had something like stop in for an hour and come and talk about things that you might need for Google Drive or a refresher course on what we do, I think that would be beneficial. So maybe even we could have a little bit of a sit down with people before the school year is over to get them comfortable with Google Plus Communities and Calendar and have them start to practice it over the summer, and then when we get back to school in September, that might be a good thing to have a refresher course on.
You know what we could do too is we could have like a massive departmental hangout where like each group be in like a computer lab or something where there's a smart board and everyone can see like just how you shared your screen with us right now, like have somebody sharing their screen and then be teaching a couple of people like in real time exactly how to use it.
I think that's a really good idea, especially because I feel like sometimes you don't get the practice in PD that you need, and offering that in real time I think is a really great suggestion, Kelly. I think we should definitely talk to administration about it and see how they are. But I thought that went really well, so thank you guys so much for joining this hangout. Does anyone have any other questions, or maybe we'll do this again sometime? But I really I appreciate you guys joining me, and thank you so much for partaking in this and discussing all these things with me. So I hope you took a little bit away from it, and I definitely got some great suggestions from you guys, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.